tonight, I basically want to talk about the frameworks, one of the frameworks, the most important framework when we talk about sustainability and sustainable development in the world. I have, over the past 2 months, began to talk about, young people in Africa and old people alike. In fact, everyone in Africa should begin to look out for sustainability and the SDGs. So look out for the SDGs and tie whatever you're doing to the SDGs. It's a very important framework that can, aside and beyond even getting you connections and opportunities and all of that, it is one of the most important ways that I have found out in this time that people have discovered purpose and what exactly makes their hearts beat very loudly and very impactfully within their chest. And tonight, if you've not seen my first video introducing the whole concept of sustainability, it's something that you should look out for. I'm teaching this series because I see there's a lacuna, there's a gap where I tell people, go out and try what you're doing into sustainability and sustainable development and all of that. And they go and they're like, I really don't understand and what and whatnot. But I went out to look out for, okay, what are the materials out there and all of that. And I could hardly find relatable examples for Africans, right? People living in Africa with our narrative and all of that. The OSAP SDG, the OSAP SDG, yes, the president, the essay, the office of the president, the essay to the president on SDGs is doing a great job. I was recently at the Yali conference and there was an SDG manual in both Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba, which are the major languages, and I hope that we expand that. However, I know more than anything that there is hardly relatable materials, relatable concepts out there talking about EVs and talking about renewable energy to people who barely even have electricity as it talking about secular economy to people who oh god, to people who are still struggling to grasp the typical understanding, the western understanding of business and business concepts, then an economy as it were. Then you wake up and you say secular economy and you talk about alternative power generating systems and all of that. There's just a lot that can be said and that has been said that makes it difficult for Africans, for young people, old people as it were, in Africa to understand and to know about sustainability and sustainable development. So I'm doing this series to ensure that we have relatable content. It gets a little more practical and a little more contextual, right, for Africans. So the first framework, as you can see the title of, thank you so much. I have about 19 people up here on here live. The first framework, which is one of the most important frameworks, is going to be done by 2030, is the SDGs that I'm going to be talking about. Is the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. What are they? Why should you care about it as an African? In September 2012, the United Nations conference in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil 2012, was where the whole sustainable development goal was agreed upon and it was set, right? And the sustainable development goals are a set of 17 goals. They are about 16 to 17 goals. They were expanded to 17 because they expanded. Good day, Farah. I can see you. You're typing in a language I don't understand, but I appreciate you being here. So there are 17 goals that the world had earmarked, the United Nations had earmarked as things that are very important, concepts that are very important, that you can tie whatever it is that you are doing, whatever it is that wakes you up at night, right? You can tie them to these frameworks and basically do good to mankind, as well as make a name for yourself, if possible, make money for yourself. So this is a framework that has helped several people from the most remote parts of Africa, people from the most remote parts of the world, to speak at the UNGA, the United Nations General Assembly. I mean, you miss out on a whole lot if you really do not understand this framework. And there's a lot that you can do, especially for those people who have a big heart as regards impacting communities and impacting society. So the sustainable development goals, so important, so important. It is so important for you to understand as an African. So there are 17 sustainable development goals. that were earmarked in this conference. Yeah, good day, Carlos Vargas. There are 17 sustainable development goals that were earmarked at that particular conference in Rio de Janeiro, and it has a lasting time until 2030 thereabout. And we are going to, the whole world is going to begin to review it and say, oh, what is going on with the SDGs? How far have we been able to achieve these SDGs and all of that? And my goal today is to run you through the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. Permit me to call them SDGs because it can be a mouthful. My goal here is to run you through the SDGs, the 17 SDGs as an African, and relate it to what concerns you, right? So the number one goal in the SDGs, so I told you a pack of 17 goals. The number one goal is no poverty. And if you are in Africa, oh my God, this should cause your heart to beat. The world, as it were, as a whole is going through some form of financial turmoil. The world as a whole is going through a lot of financial turmoil. There's inflation rising all over the world and all of that. And people are beginning to wonder, how are we going to cope economically and how are we going to cope financially, right? The first of the SDG goal, SDG 1, is no poverty. So if you're also such a person that have been thinking of job creation, you run a business, you are looking at how to better the economic lives of people in your country and in your nation, or even in Africa as a whole, or in the whole world, this is an SDG you want to zero into and begin to look into it. If you have a little firm or business that employs two, three people, you are contributing in this SDG space, even if it's a baking shop that you have, this SDG 1, no poverty, right? It is something that you are doing. You are paying people salaries, you are helping people to be economically viable. It is something that you should look out for. So why should you even care about SDG 1 if you're already doing it? You ask me. It is because there are materials out there, there are opportunities out there for people that play in this space. There are materials, there are opportunities out there. When you begin to train your algorithms on social media and all of that around your SDG, when you begin to talk about this SDG 1, if you're a business person or you're an entrepreneur, you create jobs, you help alleviate poverty in your community and all of that. When you begin to consciously look out for content, opportunities, conferences around SDG 1, you would find out that you are plugged into a whole world that you never knew existed. You are going to see lots of stuff that can aid and better what it is that you are doing. So that is why you need to be around the SDGs. There are things that are happening globally. You can get in touch with someone that's doing something else, maybe in another African country, or in another part of the world. It mustn't just be Africa. You can have you can't see someone make a post about SDG 1, no poverty, maybe in Kampala, Uganda, or in Cabo Verde, right? You see someone that's done that, and you are like, oh, this is great. I want to talk with you. I want to discover what you are doing and find a way, see if we can collaborate and if we can get something working. So the SDGs open you up to a whole world of good. And SDG 1 is no SDG 1 is no poverty. So if you are an employer of labor, you have some social enterprise that helps people get economically better, you are playing in this space. And it's very important that you know what is going on. There's the ILO, International Labor Organization. There are several other organizations that play in this space at a larger scope, and you want to begin to project your voice and say, hey, this is what I want, this is what I do, this is what I do around SDG 1, around no poverty, and this is how I'm doing what I'm doing. You'll be shocked if you are consistent for 2-3 months and you are really putting in the work. You are soon going to be getting invites, you are soon going to be seeing opportunities scattered around the world around that particular SDG. We don't have so much time, and we have 17 to go. So let me jump up. The next one is zero hunger. Zero hunger, if you are in the agric space, this is where you come to light. I mean, Africa is a very agrarian continent. We have people that farm and farm, we have fertile lands, there's a lot going on in and around agriculture. And so zero hunger, the SDG 2, is very important. If you are a farmer, you are a food processor, you are doing something around that food space, even if it's fruit juice, fruit trees, you are just doing something around food, you are a caterer. Go and read about the SDG 2, which is zero hunger. You are playing in that space. Even if you are just baking cakes, you are just baking donuts or whatever, you are doing okpa, you are doing abacha. Let me come back home to my people, right? You sell amala, ati ewedu, ati gbegiri, right? Even if you just do that in and around the food space, you are doing something around hunger, around elevating hunger, you should be talking about putting hashtag SDG2 in your posts. There's a space for you. There's a lot going on in the world. A lot of people that you can partner with, a lot of organizations are doing stuff around zero hunger, and that is where you playing. So if you are, there are lots of caterers. As I said, Africa is a very agrarian space. Africa is a very agrarian continent. So no matter what it is around agriculture, or you perhaps do processed food, or you do food, or you are even a fitness enthusiast, right? You talk about dieting and all of those things. Zero hunger is so important. Curbing waste, food waste. There's a lot of food waste around the continent. It is so important that you it's so important that you begin to use hashtag SDG2. You go out of your way to look out for things that are going on around SDG2. Apply their grants, their conferences, their whatever it is. Go out there and shine your little light and make sure that it's as bright as possible. And we're going to get to SDG 17. You can get partnerships. Some of the things that will change your life basically are locked up in people and in organizations. And you should begin to look lightly towards that. Permit me to jump for want of time. SDG 3, good health and well-being. There's a whole lot of talk around mental health right now. A lot of people who even work in organizations, because of the way businesses in Africa is set up, and the ease of doing business that's not there, and the lack of support. If you are such a person, perhaps you're an employer of labor, you are a worker, and you are even interested in health, and you're looking out for what can we do to improve the well-being, the overall well-being. You're a mental health person like I am also. So what can we do to better the mental health, the overall health? You can, even as much as possible, as a sedentary position, you can pick up a fight against sitting sedentarily. A lot of people want people to come into work every day in Africa and all of those things, and sit down in one spot in one chair for several hours. Even if that's the fight you want to start fighting against, it is a worthy cause, and you can do that within this framework and get, that's this SDG 3, good health and well-being, and get people to begin to look at you favorably, people that are interested in that space and all of that. If you are a health professional, this is another space. This is the space. These are one of the spaces where you can begin to talk about, you can anchor everything that you're doing around good health and well-being, and you find out that the world is just at your feet, because we need African voices to be represented. We need African voices to be represented in some of these things that you have to look out for. Quality education. So quality education is, if you are such a person like myself that has a passion about ensuring that people get better information and get better, and you are an advocate, you know exactly what education is, you are also educated yourself, or even if you are not, you can fight for people like you who perhaps do not have access to the best of education, and you get it out there. So that is SDG 4, quality education. Permit me, I have a little issue with my phone, but I'm dedicated to doing this. So if you are in the education space, you do stuff in and around education, you teach, you enlighten people, you carry out, you are open to children, talking to adults. I play very much in the SDG 4 space, and this that we are doing is around the SDG 4 space. So if you like even telling stories, if you are a storyteller, you are a writer, you tell good stories and all of those things, you can play in the SDG 4 space. Use your stories, use your poetry, use whatever it is to do great stuff around the education space and impact lives. So as an African, regardless of what you do, as regards either oratory, storytelling, you can even use dance, music to push and foster SDG 4. It is just so important. It is just so important. SDG 4 is important, and as important as possible. Whatever creative ideas that you have and what you do in and around the continent that educates somebody, that has educated somebody before, you can play in the education space, in the SDG 4 space, which is quality education. SDG 5 is gender equality. Funnily enough, this is the period of the 16 days of GBV advocacy, gender based violence advocacy. So I myself also, because some of the goals that the major goal that I even work on, and the goal that I champion is SDG 17 right now. So it gets me into all of these goals. All of these goals are in my terrain. So we are currently in the GBV, in the 16 days of advocacy against gender based violence, and this is so important, gender equality. And at this point in time, I want to unequivocally state that gender equality does not mean women rights. Gender equality at all does not necessarily translate to women rights. Men are also included. We need more advocates for men. If you are a man and you are doing stuff around ensuring that life is better for boys, better for men, it is very important that you speak up and you shout right now. Because these 16 days of advocacy that we are doing, it is orange, it just has women all over it. Many a time, most of the times they want to give an example of culprits, they use he and they use male adjectives, and that's not true. I'll give a Nigerian example. I hope a lot of us know that calling someone a 2 minute man is an act of SGBV, which is sexual gender based violence. So when there was something that reigned sometime back in Nigeria where they say someone is a 2 minute man and all of that, that's also an SGBV. It is huge, and men go through a lot in this life, and many times we just shout. And I'm not against women. I also advocate for women. I mean, I started the activism strong on the women's side, and I'm just reminding the world that hey, there are people here, there are humans here that are called men, and it's very important that their rights are also protected. A lot of men are molested verbally, sexually, physically, and they really don't know how to turn to, where to turn to. There are very few players across Africa that are advocating for men's rights. What am I doing about it? Well, there's a lot we are doing behind the scene. We are going to see as the days unfold. So if you are passionate about advocating for women, advocating for men, and you can see a gap that you feel as an African, this SDG 5, gender equality, something you want to begin to look out to and begin to read about. It is so important. It is so important. We need advocates, and we need advocates more than ever. We need people that are doing stuff, who have innovative solutions in this space, in this SDG 5 space. The SDG 6, the goal 6, is clean water and sanitation. As you and I know, here in Africa, it affects us. There's a World Bank statistic that was released, I think, around 2018. It said that the poorest family would most likely have access to a mobile phone than they would to clean water and toilets. And it has happened in 2024. Even people that don't have houses have phones. I dare say smartphones. And it is unfortunate, but clean water and sanitation is so important. It affects almost every other thing that we do. We know that without clean water, diseases spread like no man's business. We need people who will be advocates. We need people with innovative solutions. We need people all around the world, especially in Africa, that can look at what can we do. Can we come up with water purification and filtration, ingenious solutions? Can we do that? Can we improve people's access to clean water and sanitation? These are gaps, these are lacunas that we should fill. These are things that we can wake up today. You can wake up today and make a change billions of lives, just because you are beginning to identify with one of these. As I said earlier in this video, that the SDGs is one of the frameworks that I know that a lot of people have discovered their purpose and have given them cause to live and impact their world. So if you have stuff around clean water, sanitation, you have OCD or all of those things, you have a very important way that you like that things will be done, that things can be done, and get us from a not so clean environment to a better, cleaner, either people or environment. This SDG 6, clean water and sanitation, is where you want to play in. You want to start reading about it. You want to start looking out for opportunities in the space. You want to start lending your voice. Hey, your voice is not too small. You can begin a system. You can begin talking about stuff that can revolutionize the whole world. And the SDGs are just a platform with which you can achieve this. So please don't look down on yourself. Don't think, oh, what am I supposed to say? No, your space, your voice is important. Your voice counts. I'm doing this video right now, and a few people are on live. But I believe in a couple of months, in years to come, I'm going to reach out to millions of people. This video can reach out to millions of people, as a lot of people in Africa begin to say, oh, this is interesting, this is what I'm interested in, this is how I can add value to my world, and they continue in that wise. Permit me to jump to SDG 7. SDG 7 is affordable and clean energy. This is even funny because even the not so clean energy, we don't have it in abundance in Africa for whatever reason. Even coal, we have trees in abundance, we have all of that, but we've not even been able to utilize the steam engine properly and coal properly. I will just take a detour here to say that a few people who are not so knowledgeable around the energy space will tell you that, or who claim to be pan-Africanists but are not so knowledgeable, will say that, oh, that Europe and the developed world, they achieved their development using steam engines and using coal and all of that, that now is our turn, they want to tell us what to use. I hope we also know, if you can also read, Europe had a very serious disease crisis, the period that they depended heavily on steam, on the steam engine and on coal and all of that. There were epidemics that sprung up like this. There was a time, was it in Germany, Berlin or somewhere, where the city was almost covered in fog, they couldn't see the sky. Is that what we want to subject ourselves to when we are saying clean energy? And when we are talking about renewable energy, we are not just talking about it to siphon funds or to make some people feel good. No, we are saying that these things, if you do them in excess, you are going to literally pay for them. You're going to pay for them. So if you are someone, you are an inventor, you like energy, you know something around the energy space, or there's something that you have been using to power yourself, or your place to conserve energy and all of that, this SDG 7 is somewhere that you should be looking at. It is something that you should actually begin to look at and begin to talk about and shout about your solutions. And you get invited. There's the Rural Electrification Agency of Nigeria, and they are doing a great job, right? They are doing a very, very, very great job. And they are beginning to engage young people and all of that. And this is very important. So there are avenues now. There are people that begin, there are organizations, both government agencies and the like, that are beginning to look out for, oh, okay, how can we ensure that energy is affordable? How can we even ensure that it is clean? If you are playing in that space, if you are interested in that space, you can Google SDG 7. There are lots of materials there. If you are in Africa, you are an inventor, you have done something, you power your home, or perhaps you know how to use less of coal or less of firewood to achieve the same result that would have used much more of that coal or firewood or whatever, then you can begin to talk about it and shout about your solution using this framework. You can use hashtags SDG7 and all of that. And the powers that be in the world and people that can collaborate with you are also looking out around that framework, and they would get in touch with you. Yeah, I'm looking at my time, looking at my battery percentage. SDG 8 is decent work and economic growth. Hey, in Africa, we need decent work and economic growth more than anything. If you are a union leader, you are passionate about unionism, you are passionate about getting people together, you know that the conditions, the working conditions and the living conditions for workers in Africa is not the best and all of that. You are an advocate, you have a solution, you want to talk about hybrid work and remote work, and you believe that you have what it takes, right? To you have some solutions and all of that in that space. This is a great place. These are a great SDG to use. There's a lot we need, especially for those of us who work, and for those of us who own businesses, and for those of us who employ people, and those of us who are employed. We need to advocate for better standards, for better working standards in Africa. And it's so important that we get that done and that we begin to look in that light. So SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, is your go-to area. It is what you should begin to do. If you can talk about policies and all of that, if you've done research in and around there, around how people can work better, produce better output, and at the same time get better as human beings and not burn out. There's a lot of burnout, there's a lot of jacky working, quote and unquote, in Africa. It's this SDG 8 is something that you have to look out for favorably. SDG 9 is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Once more, if you are a thinker, you're an entrepreneur, you are a solution-minded person, SDG 9, SDG 9, SDG 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Walk around it. Walk and walk around this. We cannot shout enough We need homegrown ideas. I believe so much so that only Africa has what it takes to solve our problems and solve it sustainably. And so, if you are in that space, if you are an innovator, if you are an industry player, and you want to begin to lend your voice and play globally, play on the global space, there's still 5 years to go. You can begin to tag SDG 9, write about SDG 9, write about your solutions and all of that, and look out for organizations that are interested in and around that place. And you would be able to find opportunities and people to collaborate with and all of that. The next SDG 10, is reduce inequalities. If you are someone, so I met someone yesterday, was it yesterday? Yes, yesterday. I met someone yesterday who said she was so interested in disadvantaged communities and all of that. SDG 10 is for you, reduce inequalities. There are people who are refugees, there are people who are in vulnerable communities, there are at-risk communities and all of that. SDG 10 is where you should begin to hone in, is where you should begin to look out for, is what you should begin to look out for, what you should begin to talk about and say, oh, okay, yes, there's a framework around this. If you search for SDG 10 and all of that, you begin to see different organizations that do things. I know the work is enormous, it is just so huge, it is enormous. It is enormous, and there are lots of these communities scattered around Africa. Now you can play a part. The world is looking for active participants in there. Your voice matters. Your voice counts. Begin to look out around, in and around SDG 10. There are people who have a heart. That is what gives them fulfillment. To try to reduce inequalities. To try to get to people who are at risk. To people who are in vulnerable communities and all of that. This is the space where you should begin to play in if you are that type of person. Believe you me, there are opportunities. In fact, we don't have enough players in and around Africa in this particular area. SDG 11 is sustainable cities and communities. Yo, there's a boom in real estate, especially in Nigeria. I don't know how it is all across Africa, but there's just this boom in real estate, and a lot of people are talking blah blah blah. Yes, we can ensure that our cities are built with sustainability in mind. We can ensure that communities also have sustainability in mind, so that we don't eat tomorrow's food today and begin to complain. If you are such a community person, you like to gather people, or you are a realtor, or you are a constructions person, this is the space, this is the SDG that you want to start looking out for. SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities. It is so important. We don't have enough advocates in this space. So we don't have enough workers in this space. We don't have people that are championing African solutions a lot in this space. So you should begin to look at it as an African. What can I do? What can I add? Only us know our problems. Only us know our challenges. Only us even knows our resources, the extent to our resources. Only us know some of the ancient historical technologies and things that have been used over time in the whole of Africa to solve some of these problems. So yeah, if you are that type of person that you are interested in cities, IoT, and all of those things, you want to look out for SDG 12, SDG 11, which is sustainable cities and communities. Pardon me, SDG 11. Make Shout about what you are doing, use hashtags and all of that. Collaborate, collaborate, collaborate. For SDG 12, it is responsible consumption and production. For Africa, we need to really talk about this. We need to really begin to talk about consumption and production. A lot of African countries are just consumption based countries. We consume a lot, we import a lot from the developed world. We call it our own names sometimes, even foolishly, and we are not producing enough. If you are someone who is into production of any sort and all of those things, please, this is the space where you are to play in. Is SDG 12, the responsible consumption and production. If you're around the consumption space or the production space, go and read up. There are lots of materials, there are lots of things that have been done all over the world that are commendable, that you can learn from. There are some of the challenges that you are facing. Perhaps someone somewhere has solved it and have made a post or a paper, or there have even been a full-blown seminar about it or article, and you can just leverage some of these resources and, I mean, improve your life. And also, I beg and I shout, and the reason I'm doing this is so that we begin to have African sensitive solutions from us that solve our own problems. So, as an African, if you have great ideas around responsible consumption, around production, please Go out, talk about it, shout, 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 blow your own trumpet, and talk about the things that you know and that you are doing in that regard. That is SDG 12. And permit me to jump for once of time. We've already crossed the 30-minute mark to SDG 13, which is climate action. I did my bachelor's in geography and environmental management. This is also a space that I play in. Whether we like it or not, in Africa, we are no longer really able to predict when the rainy season is here. For most parts of Africa, we are in the equatorial region. We don't have the four seasons, as it were. We just have a rainy season and a dry season. All of them have their little variants and variations. But yeah, we know that climate is a big deal because it has the lack of variation, the variation that we have now, and the lack of proper planning that we can't do because we don't know if the rain is going to be more this year, it's going to be less. We don't know how long, whether Hamatan is going to come, whether it's going to just flash us and go back, and all of those things. Those are just simple but relatable pointers to climate action, right? But the real brunt of the matter is way beyond just these little examples of rain and all of those things. Climate action is real, right? Climate challenges, they are real, they affect us. A lot of people are having skin diseases, a lot of type of diseases, just because we are not climate conscious. We have to change that, and we have to begin to look out for climate action. So if you are one that does stuff around climate action, that does stuff around the carbon footprint, there's a lot. There's net zero. There are lots of concepts around climate action. It's a little technical, but I want to keep it I want to keep it very basic and beginner level, right? So if you do stuff around weather, you do stuff around waste disposal and all of those things, climate action is the space that you should play in. Go and read about it. It's SDG 13. Read about it, and find a way to play in that space. Talk about SDG 13, use it in hashtags, find different SDG 13 things that are going on in your area, and you most probably see opportunities. You see different things that people have done in other parts of Africa and the world, and you'll be able to backward integrate or even further improve upon their ideas, or your own novel ideas. I mean, can solve our challenges. Why not? We encourage it from the African perspective. We encourage it terribly from the African perspective. Yeah. And we move on to SDG 14, life below water. Very important. I said the vast majority of Africa is agrarian, right? So we depend on agriculture. There are festivals in Nigeria like the Arugungu Fish Festival that is no longer such a big deal because life below water is threatened, and it just happens once in a long time. It used to be something that used to happen again and again and again and again before then, and the person with the heaviest fish or the largest fish gets a reward and all of that. It used to be like a melting point of culture and all of that. But if you do fish farming, blah blah blah, blah, all of those things that have to do with life below water, this is where you are. You can play in the SDG 14 space. You can play in the SDG 14 space and try to conserve our water bodies, because I mean, some people say that water is life, and it's very difficult to argue with them. Omale said, "Let I no get enemy, all of that." So, yeah, don't mind me. I just tried to give a deeper Nigerian context there, right? So, water is so important. Water can spread diseases like anything, and water can heal like anything. We need our water bodies safe, and um, we need it to support life below water and support the plethora of the ecosystem that is just existing within those water bodies. So it is so important. If you have a river in your village, let me even make it, yeah, let me bring it home. If you have a river in your village that has unique properties or unique whatever species and all of that, you can begin to, I mean, talk to the world about it. Use the hashtag SDG 14. Take videos, do whatever, carry people. In Rwanda, I was there's a guy in Rwanda who spoke at the Youth Connect Africa Summit. He he found out that his village was so beautiful and began to post about it and make videos and all of that. And now he runs a full tourism agency in his from his village, taking them through the hills and all of that. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity. Life below water. If you have a nice stream in your village or something, or you're in a coastal, your hometown is a coastal place and all of that, you can run riot, you can do, there's a lot of opportunities there. But I mean, you will not find if you are not seeking. So go out to seek and read about what people have done in that space and come up with your own ideas. You can improve, you can still backward integrate, copy and globalize what other people have done. But we need African ingenious solutions when we are talking about life below water, and that's so important. The next SDG is just the sister SDG, which is SDG 15. It is life on land. Life on land. It is so important. Life on land. So beyond even us that are walking this earth and are walking above water on solid land, there are several species that also need to touch this earth, right? To exist. And many times in Africa, we can just kill and eat and all of that. But you can have love for insects, you can have love for, me, I have love for not amphibians as it were, what they call them now, reptiles. It's just so sad that a lot of them are dangerous. But yeah, the bulk of them stay on land and are supported on land. So life on land, if you are that type of person, I know a few people who are in love with animals. Tola Abdul Bar. Abdul Bar, my friend and brother, went to school together at university. We studied statistics, yeah, but dude is in love with animals, head over heels. So Abdul Bar, you watch this video, yeah, because I mentioned your name. I'm going to ensure that you watch it, right? This is life on land. You can begin to run riots with it. There's a lot. In fact, National Geographic Channel or something like that, there's a lot that is done. There are lots of opportunities. We just have very, very few Africans that play in that space. But hey, we are blessed with a variety of species of animals and all of that, and we can. And we know that we human beings also, we are life on land too. So if you are interested in also how we adapt to using land and making the best out of the land mass that we have, this is an SDG that you have to play in. This is SDG 15, life on land. And wow, we are almost done. SDG 16 is so important. It is one thing that we need in Africa. It is peace, justice, and strong institutions. Hey, it is all of our business in Africa. I believe young people, thanks to the power of social media and all of that, I mean, I'm reaching out to several people all over the world just via this YouTube live stream, right? Young people all over the world and old people are like, we can begin to advocate for peace, for justice, for strong institutions. We can shout and scream and begin to advocate for these things because it is so important. If there is no peace, it's hardly possible that any of these SDGs that I've spoken about thus far will make sense. If there is no justice, there's almost no point really putting in any serious work to ensure that things get better because you can just be swept away with a wind of or a wave of injustice. It is so important. This is something that affects all of us. So it's a collective challenge that all of us have to. It is not a bystander thing. You cannot just stand by and say, once there's a threat to peace somewhere, there's a threat to peace everywhere. So please let's wake up. Peace, justice, strong institutions. Our institutions in Africa we need innovative solutions. We need real solutions that are Afrocentric, that are African centric, that are Afrocentric, that can improve our institutions, our education, our languages, our everything. We need Afrocentric solutions that can better our life here in Africa, and that is just so important. If you are that type of person, you feel so strongly about peace, about justice. If you're a lawyer, also this is a very great SDG to begin to tag to everything that you do. That's SDG 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. You're a policy maker, you hope to get into politics or whatever. This is a great way to begin. Like begin to advocate for the right things, begin to advocate for strong institutions and all of that. Hashtag is SDG 16. You can read about it, search SDG 16, find out what your contemporaries all over the world are doing, what advocates, what the people who work around SDG 16 are doing. And I mean, and you find out that there's a lot that you can do. There's a lot of collaboration that can happen. I'm also open to collaborate. Or if you have anything that you are doing and you need guidance or whatever, you can drop a comment, you can reach out to me, and I'll find a way to give the best guidance that I can. But these are issues, and these are very important things that all of us we have to be responsible for. And the last but not the least, which is my own SDG, that's DG 17, the one that I am championing like no man's business these days. SDG 17, partnership for the goals. So having looked at all these goals, the United Nations discovered that a lot of these things are interlinked, right? And one of the best ways to achieve this is to ensure that there's partnerships. So I'm an SDG 17 champion. This video is because of SDG 4, SDG 17. I hope to ensure that Africans begin to play in this space, that we partner with one another, and that we do great stuff in and around one another. And I mean, it's not something that we should, it's not something that we should overlook. I'm open to partnerships in any of these SDGs. You are not so sure, but you are very passionate about it, and you are responsible. You are someone that can commit to whatever it is that they are doing. I am ready. I am overly ready to partner with you. I'm here. I am ready to climb the highest mountain and get down into the deepest valley to ensure that we do well. I mean, they say if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I want to go far. It's not just about being fast. It's not just about like owning the spotlight. I don't care as much as regards the spotlight. I don't care about the spotlight as much as I care that the real work is being done. So Africans, here you have it. These are the 17 SDG goals that, and I've tried my best not to make it complex, to bring it down to our level, to ensure that it's something that we all can relate to. I'm looking out for your comments. I'm looking out for if there's any other thing also you think I should talk about, that if there's a way I can better improve my teaching and all of that. My eyes are open, my ears are open. I'm looking forward to you. I'm looking forward to learning also and improving the things that I do and the teachings that I've done. If this was worthwhile, if you learned one or two things, if you found an SDG that you think you are so passionate and interested about, please do well to drop it in the comments below. And please don't forget to subscribe and talk to your friends about the SDGs. Let them just watch this video. It's some 44 minutes, they're about 45 minutes, and it's a great investment of their time. We have a lot of entrepreneurs, lots of people that do lots of things in and around Africa, and they are not doing anything about the sustainable development goals. When the SDGs can actually amplify and help them better refine whatever it is that they're doing, it can open them up to global opportunities like no man's business. Please, it's not something that you find and you put under a bushel. I'm lighting this candle and I'm putting it on a lampstand so that the whole village can see and feel the warmth. Thank you so much. Once more, I'm Chima Ines Okoli. I'm a sustainable development expert. God bless you. See you in the next video.